Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CACHET Virtual College Fair. We've got an exciting session today. Before we begin, we'll cover a few housekeeping items. Note that if you have questions, you can do so using the Q&A button. The presenters are monitoring and will review accordingly. Also note that the camera and microphones are turned off, so our presenters can't see or hear you. Be aware that there's additional sessions available for those interested in other institutions. So if you do have interest, go ahead and visit the StriveScan website for the signups. Lastly, note that we are recording this session and it will be available 3 to 5 days after the presentation up on the StriveScan website. You can visit it at strivescan.com/cache. With that, we'll turn it over to Julie from WPI.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Before I share the presentation, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Julie Lovelace. I am one of the admissions counselors at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. We call it WPI for short, and I'm here presenting with two of our current students. Angelos, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angelo. I'm an international student from Athens, Greece. I'm a senior majoring in mechanical engineering with a concentration in mechanical design and minoring in manufacturing engineering. Apart from being an admissions associate on campus, I'm also involved in a Greek life organization and the club basketball team.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris. I'm also a senior at WPI. I'm double majoring in biology, biotechnology, and professional writing. And aside from helping out at the admissions center, I'm also involved with one of our Greek life organizations, as well as the Student Government Association.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to talk to you guys all about WPI, including what the WPI plan is, some campus resources, and then, of course, how to apply to the university. So some basics on WPI, founded over 150 years ago, so a long history as a private science and technology focused university. The other information up there tells you a little bit about our size, our geographic size, as well as the number of students, women, multicultural and international students on campus. In terms of why you guys should consider WPI, we are a STEM-focused university, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the majors that we offer, but humanities are actually really important to us as well. Tons of research opportunities at WPI, and really the ability to kind of tailor your 4 years to exactly what you're interested in studying and making the most of your time at WPI. In terms of majors, so like I said, most of our students are majoring in some sort of STEM major. Actually, 98% of our students graduate with a degree in science, technology, engineering, math, or business. At WPI, I would say engineering is kind of our largest singular discipline because we have 12 different kinds of engineering, all of the basics like mechanical, civil, electrical, and chemical engineering. I like to note that we were the first university in the United States to offer a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in robotics engineering. So lots of specialty programs within engineering as well. Plenty of our students, like Chris, study in our life sciences field or physical sciences, so things like biology, chemistry, biochemistry, physics, and so on. A handful of students graduate with a full degree in math or actuarial math, and then we see a lot of students studying in computer-related fields. So the biggest major is going to be computer science, but things like video game development and data science are also really popular for our students. I do want to note that I just threw a lot of majors at you guys that you might never have heard of before. So know that if you come to WPI, you don't have to know exactly which major you want before you enroll. You have the ability to change your major at any point during your 4 years at the university. I'm going to move on and introduce the WPI plan. This is kind of how we deliver our education here at WPI, and I will let Angelos talk about the components of the WPI plan. Take it away, Angelos.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Julie, for the introduction. So yeah, the WPI plan is basically how we run things here. And we like to categorize it in 4 different sections. So I'll start off with the first section, which is our academic calendar. So instead of the usual semester, here at WPI, an academic calendar is actually composed of 4 7-week terms. Your A, B, C, D, and an optional E term, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So within each term, you'll be participating in 3 courses, and that really creates space for cooperative and open-ended project work, which is, of course, at the core of the WPI plan. And Chris will be talking about that in a little bit as well. So a typical class will meet 4 times for a lecture over the course of a week, and possibly a 5th time for either a conference or even a laboratory period, of course, depending on the subject. During the conference, for example, students are able to discuss with their teaching assistants. They're not necessarily going to learn new material, but instead they're going to get to practice the skills, practice that theory that they've learned in their lectures. So as you can see, within each term in our academic calendar, we do have breaks. So between your A and B term and C and D term, we have a 10-day break. Between your B and C, that's our winter long break, which is 1 month. And then during between our D and A, that's our summer break, which is 4 months long. Because our courses actually start and end during these 7-week periods, these breaks are true breaks, meaning that you can go back home, stay on campus, decompress from all the work, but at the same time, even embark on internship or co-opportunities or some of those research opportunities that Julie was talking about previously. So talking about that summer long 4-month long period, that's the time where it's very common that students will indeed take advantage of internship opportunities in the nearby area or even start a co-op as well. In addition, like I said, we do have an optional e-term where students do have, again, the ability to take additional courses if they wish to add another major or minor, or even go for an accelerated BS MS degree within 4 years. So being that we have a very unique academic calendar, that also transitions into our very unique grading policy. So at WPI, for each class completed, you're able to receive or awarded one of 4 letter grades. So an ABC or an NR, which stands for no record. And I'll talk again a little bit about that after I talk about ABCs. As you can see, we don't have the pluses and minuses. That's because we want students to really collaborate together in this project-based curriculum rather than have to compete for who's going to get the plus or minus or the B plus or A minus. This really allows students, again, to take advantage of our projects and work collectively together in order to succeed in these ventures. I'm pretty sure everyone's wondering what the NR means, and it's exactly as it sounds. So it is no record. If you're not able to meet the grading requirements of a specific course, being an A, B, or a C, you'll receive an NR, meaning that this course will actually not show up on your transcripts. You will not be negatively penalized for not being able to meet those grading requirements. The reason that we have this is because we really want students to challenge themselves, get out of their comfort zones, take courses that they think are interested but never had the chance to do so in the past. Again, this allows students to really go outside, possibly get that double major or additional minor in their degree without necessarily fearing that their GPA is going to tank. And being that we, again, foster this community where we allow students to challenge themselves, it's a great transition into our flexible curriculum. So at WPI, you actually apply to the institution as a whole, not a specific major, meaning that when you come to WPI, you can actually change your major at any point of time. However, when you do specify a specific major, you'll receive what is called the tracking sheet. On this tracking sheet, you will have a list of courses that are required to take for that specific major. What you will note, and what is very unique about these tracking sheets, is that actually we have a list of recommended courses and not necessarily a specific path that you have to complete. This allows for students to make their own 4-year plan. Pick and choose what courses they like to place within each term so that they're able to be successful, but at the same time, again, add that major or minor. I would like to note that we do offer credits for students that have completed AP courses and received 4 or 5, or courses in the higher level International Baccalaureate and received a 6 or a 7. So now I'll be passing it back to Chris, who's going to talk about our most important section of the WPI plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Angelo. So the next big component of the WPI plan is the project-based curriculum. And as we've already talked about, WPI is a very collaborative institution where we hope that students work together to marriage the theory and practice that they learn at their time here at the institution. So at WPI, there are 4 major projects that students participate in, and usually they're taken each in one of the 4 years here. Before we jump into those, which you see right here, I just want to make one note about project-based learning. So at WPI, in pretty much every single class, there will be a project or at least some sort of collaborative component, whether that be a laboratory or even a computer lab or some sort of event that you're expected to go to. And these types of projects and these types of collaborations are really supposed to, again, drive home the fact that in every single discipline, there's both a theory to learn and then tools to employ that learning. So even in classes like something very theoretical like calculus, students are expected to go to the computer lab to utilize graphing software and building software that uses calculus to make 3-dimensional models of particular objects or perhaps layouts of certain kind of buildings. And this all goes to show that at WPI, students take what they learn out of that classroom and then they utilize it in a way that might actually be useful in the real world. And so for that reason, it gives students kind of a leg up in understanding how do they actually get to use these skills that they're learning. Jumping into our 4 major projects, the first major project that you'll see here is the Great Problem Seminar, or GPS. This is typically taken in the freshman year. And students coming into this project are working together with people that they may have not ever met who may not even know their own major yet. And the whole purpose of this project is to really push students to involve themselves with the collaborative learning environment at WPI and to get a real good grip of it right from the get-go. Students will work on projects in humanitarian areas like finding ways to create cleaner energy or perhaps ways to make efficient use of water cleaning technologies that don't pollute further. And in most cases, the work that students will do is actually contributing towards real world projects that sponsors are looking for, or perhaps research that professors at WPI are working on. So these projects, as early as your freshman year, are not things that professors are pulling out of a dusty drawer and saying, all right, here you go. Here's project A, here's project B. This is real world work that is contributing to real world problems that people face right now. And so it's a really amazing opportunity to not only learn how to get into WPI's collaborative working environment, but to also make an impact out there in the real world. The next major project that you'll see here is the Humanities and Arts Practicum or Seminar. Now, as Angelo had pointed out, WPI does not have any major specific requirements in that you're allowed to take courses within certain groups of majors or certain groups of subjects in order to fulfill requirements. However, at WPI, we do have a few institutional requirements, one of which is the Humanities and Arts. Students are expected to complete 5 courses in the Humanities and Arts department, which range anywhere from history and art to music and religion, with a few others in between. At the end of that, they take a 6th course, which is a capstone, which is known as the seminar or practicum, which pulls together everything that they learned within those 5 classes. So speaking from example, when I did my Humanities and Arts project, I chose to focus in history and writing. And that's why I also decided to get my writing double major. So they kind of go hand in hand. When I did my project, I wanted to do something that was related to medicine. And so I seeked out different projects offered by professors across the school that would kind of fall into that realm. I found one, and throughout the entire semester or the term, my team and I basically researched different ways in which medicine has changed throughout history and how testing medical school students has changed and whether or not we think the curriculum lines up with what students are expected to know. And so it was a historical overview of medicine. And at the end, we were expected to perform a large-scale write-up about that and then to also deliver a presentation to the class. Now, that might sound really boring to a lot of you, but for someone who's really into medicine and is really into writing and history, it's an amazing opportunity to learn. Students who are more interested in writing or not writing in art or music, for example, are able to create pieces of art that might get displayed somewhere at the school, or they might be able to make a piece of music that ends up getting that they end up having to perform in front of a live audience or in front of their advisors. So the humanities and arts projects are supposed to be an area for students to delve into something they're passionate about and something that they feel will be contributing towards their education in the long run. The next project, which is typically done in the junior year, is the Interactive Qualifying Project, or IQP. I'll talk a little bit more about this project on the next slide where we have some more information. The final project that you'll see here is the Major Qualifying Project, or MQP. This project is basically the senior year thesis project, the senior year dissertation, however you want to look at it, in which students will work with other students or with themselves on a project in their particular major or within a very similar major. They're going to be working on problems that people in the real world within their major are facing, or they might be working on a product and delivering that to a sponsor who's working in that type of field. Again, speaking through example, as a biotechnologist, I focused my track in biology, in human biology and health. And so for that reason, as soon as the coronavirus hit, I knew exactly what I wanted my MQP to be. The really great part about projects at WPI, and as Angela had pointed out, is that our curriculum is very flexible. So you can find a project offered by a professor, you can find some teammates and you can hit the ground running, or you can create your own project. And that's exactly what I did. I reached out to specific doctors working on coronavirus research at UMass Medical School, which is located just 10 minutes down the road, created a project, created a hypothesis, found some advisors that wanted to also get in on the project here at WPI, and then that was that. So it's something that I'm extremely passionate about. It's something that I want my career to focus in, and it really doesn't even feel like I'm working on a project. It really just feels like I'm working on something that I'd otherwise want to be doing in my normal career. The point of telling you all this is to kind of give you some insight into how these projects are things that WPI students are very passionate about and really want to do. And they're supposed to give you the type of information that would help you move into the career that you want, or as a tool for self-discovery to find out that maybe you're not so interested in that particular sector of your field. They're very complex and there's a lot of moving pieces, and you often have to meet expectations of multiple people, but it's all really fun and it all kind of delivers a really well-known project that you can talk about forever. Now, one of the other things that I'll point about the projects is that, again, that may sound interesting to some of you, but not to everyone. And so for that reason, you'll see this type of work being done in all different majors. So mechanical engineers making crazy contraptions, aerospace engineers shooting things into the sky. Everybody is usually working on something that is otherwise going to propel them forward in their careers. So taking a step back and talking more about our interactive qualifying project, again, this project is our study abroad program. It is our international kind of studies program, all built into one, and it is typically done within the junior year. Students who do this project will choose the site that they'd like to go to in their sophomore year, and will usually find out where they're going to be going before the new year. In their junior year, they'll work on the project preliminarily in one term where they'll meet with their team, they'll find the sponsor that they're going to be working with, they'll find out what their project details are, and they'll kind of mock up some plans and some ideas of what it is that they're going to do. And then they'll deliver a presentation about what that is to their advisors and their sponsor at the end. In the following term, they'll then go away to one of the locations that you see here on the map, one of the project centers, and actually work on that project. And so that might be going away and working with villagers and creating some sort of building. It might be delivering some sort of business plan or model idea to a government organization or a nonprofit. The IQP is basically an endless kind of grove of different opportunities that usually fall within the humanitarian realm, trying to deliver something to a group of people who are unlike yourself and trying to help students delve into a different culture. The really awesome part about these projects is that not only does it act as a study abroad program, but it's also really important for students to gain a better perspective of managing expectations and working on a long-term project where they might not know all the details. So unlike the MQP, where you have a really solid idea of what you're doing and how you're doing it, the IQP kind of forces you to think about all the different things that are coming in as they happen. What happens as you're building and you run out of supplies? Or what if the sponsor isn't able to deliver on something that they said they might have before? So real world types of issues that come up every day when you're working on projects is really the kind of learning environment that helps students to, think outside the box and to be able to hit walls and jump over them, dig under them, and really just figure out how to problem solve. as Angela has pointed out, we usually take 3 courses in 7 weeks every term. So for this study abroad program, students are actually going away for those 7 weeks rather than taking those 3 courses here at WPI. And so you can come in with no APs, no dual enrollments, and you can still graduate within 4 years while also having a study abroad program built right into your curriculum, which is an amazing opportunity for some of our students. And finally, there's also a global scholarship that students can receive up to $5,000 that helps to offset the cost of site specifics and travel. So there's really just a really great opportunity here for students to go away. Now, I could probably talk endlessly about all the things about WPI. I'm so Julie and Angelos could as well, but you probably don't want to hear that over and over and over again. So we have a neat little video that will kind of give you some tidbits of what we've talked about and also a little bit more detail about WPI.
Great. Chris, just give me the thumbs up if the sound is working. Okay.
You got it.
What I found different from my high school was that at WPI, everyone is there because they love to learn.
Project opportunities are built into all 4 years of the WPI curriculum.
My name is Marco Villar. I'm from San Diego, California, and I innovate building materials. What I would like to go into is finding alternative methods that make a building less harmful to the environment. I knew that with WPI's project-based curriculum, I'd be able to get that hands-on.
Pardon our dust, folks. We're just going to reboot this video here. It looks like it's frozen up. So give us a second here. Angelos or Chris, maybe there's some other things you want to share about WPI while Julie gets the video going.
Of course, I can talk about my ICP experience.
Oh, here we go.
I'm Bree, and I innovate infant respiratory rate monitors. For biomedical engineering design class, you're presented with a problem. So ours was to create a device that will help prevent sudden infant death syndrome. It's so incredible to have something that I can look at and say, I did that. I created this in 7 weeks.
My name is
Angelos or Chris,
13.
what else would you guys add?
In my life that hasn't changed. So I didn't want to go to college where it was going to be back.
Julie, if you can hear us, maybe it would be better to just, I guess, Chris and I can talk about our IQP experience real quick, and because the video doesn't seem to really be
There she goes.
working. Yeah. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I know this virtual world sometimes doesn't really work for everyone. But on that note, personally, I'm a senior, so I was actually lucky enough to be able to travel before the pandemic occurred. And also, ironically, I was traveling to Wuhan and Beijing, China, the summer of my sophomore year, where I completed a project with this outside sponsor. The sponsor was called Siemens, the company. So we worked closely with them. There was a product that they really wanted to bring into the market, and we completed a series of surveys. We were researching and finding ways that they can actually implement this product into the market. We worked closely with a university in the nearby area that WPI had partnered with. So we had a lot of interaction with students from different cultures, different backgrounds, all working together for this same problem. Now, I was also lucky enough to have a project that did kind of relate to my major of study, but as Chris talked about previously, the IQP is usually more so a humanitarian project, something that relates to social studies and not necessarily engineering. However, all the students kind of bring their own ideas to the table. So you might be in a group with, a chemical engineer, a mechanical engineer, robotics engineer, all working together to solve solutions. And it's great to see how all these different backgrounds can really aid in this process. So I don't know about Chris, but I know Chris had a difficult time necessarily. He wasn't able to travel, so maybe he can talk about that as well.
Yeah, of course. So my IQP was unfortunately canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Usually we have these projects happening every single term. And so the C term that students were working on projects got cut early. And so they came back. And then obviously D term, which would be spring, which is actually right now till the beginning of May, that was canceled. And so I wasn't able to go away. However, the way the project kind of worked out is that I guess I can give some background on it, is that I was originally slated to go away to Yerevan, Armenia, which is located right in the middle of like the heart of Eastern Europe. And it's kind of the precipice between Europe and Asia. And in that project, I was working with a nonprofit organization known as World Vision Armenia, who was delivering who had social services and social workers delivering poverty prevention and poverty kind of preventative maintenance to certain kind of groups around the capital. And so little villages dotted all around the area are incredibly impoverished. So when you kind of look at a city like Yerevan, it starts very rich, and then like a circle, as you expand outward, it gets progressively more and more poor. And what we tried to do as a project team was to stratify what that poverty or that poorness looked like. And so in some cases, people have a lot of money, but they just don't have access to clean water, or the nearest market for food is miles and miles and miles away. And so people are unable to kind of get certain types of resources and certain types of things because of that. And so we worked with this organization to understand poverty from multiple dimensions, and we came up with different solutions for those types of poverty. We built a website to deliver to social workers, and then physical handouts to give to those individuals in those villages that could help them. In addition to that, we worked with another group known as the Poverty Stoplight Program, or Foundation Paraguaya, which makes the Poverty Stoplight Program. And we train the social workers in using that tool and how to effectively understand poverty. And so, as you can see, just as Angela had pointed out, the projects are very, very humanitarian in most cases. And so you're working on large scale social problems, or perhaps specific problems that businesses might be facing within the realm of humanitarian work, and trying to come up with a way to genuinely help people or to help communities around the world.
Chris, thanks so much. I've got a couple questions that I'd like to propose to you guys as students. Maybe you could share and expand on a little bit of these things. So the first question I had would be, what advice would you give to these prospective students as they're going through the college search process? What are some things that you learned along the way that you might want to share, and how do some of those things highlight what WPI has to offer?
Yeah, I can start with that question, and thank you, Dave, for this question. So personally, I was an international student, so I didn't really get the chance to visit many schools, being in a similar situation that many people are currently. And going to some of these info sessions, taking the virtual tours are actually critical, I believe, to kind of your decision with this whole process, because you're able to kind of get the inside knowledge from students like us, but at the same time, you have that one-on-one with counselors that are able to kind of tell you what WPI is seeking for, tell you what other schools are seeking for as well. Additionally, I think personally for WPI, the reason I chose it was due to its project-based curriculum. And I know we've already bombarded the phrase project-based curriculum a lot this evening, but it really is kind of the way we do things here at WPI. Our motto is theory and practice, and this whole project really allows us to do that. So you have your lecture portions where you really get to kind of enhance and learn this new theory, but at the same time, there's always going to be some sort of portion where you get to apply all that knowledge into practical solutions that you can come up with. Again, the IQP and MQP are two great projects, so definitely take those into account, because they're able to expand your knowledge on, again, humanities and arts, but at the same time, use your skills within major specific as well. Just as a general for this whole situation, definitely, don't stress yourselves out. Definitely lay out all the options in front of you and make sure to go with, what you feel best in the end. I don't know, Chris, if you have any additional kind of words of wisdom here.
Sure. So could you just repeat the question real quick?
Yep, this is Dave. The question is, what advice would you give to prospective students as they go through the college search process, and what were some of those comforting things you found in WPI?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that definitely hit me was looking for a school that was both really kind of competitive and was going to offer a very rigorous education. I knew that I wanted to be in like advanced sciences and perhaps pursuing something like my PhD. And so for that reason, when I first came into WPI, or at least when I first started looking for schools, I was looking for something that would have a lot of rigor. As I quickly found out, that wasn't really the one thing that I liked about WPI though. And as I looked at other schools, I started to recognize WPI as a school that felt really comfortable. It was very inviting. The people were friendly. The counselors were friendly. The students were friendly. Everybody was just really nice and the atmosphere was great. And so during my tour, I really kind of fell in love with WPI, and every single tour before that and every single one after that started to pale in comparison. And so for that reason, I kind of decided that, not only was rigor important, but also the feel factor of the school.
All right, I've got one more question as Julie rejoins here. So Angelos, maybe tell us one fun fact about WPI.
Fun fact about WPI.
Maybe a unique event or tradition on campus, perhaps?
Oh yeah, of course. So, well, when you come to WPI, we have the new student orientation. When all students have gladly moved into campus, at the end of new student orientation, we all get together, we formulate a line, and we take a small tour around campus, and we end up crossing the bridge on campus. So you do that at the beginning of your 4 years, and then actually before graduation, you complete a very similar route all together as a class, and again cross that bridge in the opposite direction, leading towards commencement. I think it's kind of a great ceremony to see, the people that you started with are also the people you're ending with, seeing the people around you, seeing your professors being there to congratulate you as you cross that bridge. But at the same time, again, taking a nice stroll around WPI, the place that you lived for 4 years, had all these experiences with this great community. And I also see there's a bunch of questions coming in as well. I don't know how we want to continue this info session, if we can pull up the presentation or just continue with answering some of these questions.
We should be able to continue. I see Julie's back. Maybe Julie, you want to take over, and then Angelos and Chris, if you guys want to take a peek at the questions.
Yeah, I would love to. Unfortunately, I'm on my iPad. I'm not able to rejoin from my computer, so I don't have the slides to share. Chris and Angelos, I did just email them to you, so I'm not sure if either of you are able to pull them up there. But we can definitely kind of go ahead with some of the content that we wanted to share, and whether or not we have the slides, we'll see. But sorry for the technical difficulties. So I know that you guys had talked a little bit about projects. Did you talk at all about jobs after graduation?
So I have the presentation, and I believe that is the next slide, so I can actually bring that up.
Thank you, Chris.
Just make sure. I should close some of these other windows. Just give me one moment.
Of course. Yeah, so essentially, doing all of these projects that Chris was talking about, one of the main reasons that we do them is because we want our students to be successful after graduation, and learning all those skills by doing the projects that Chris mentioned is really a great way to put your best foot forward when it comes to those job interviews. So we have a great career development center that really helps students prepare for the job interviews, get their resume in the best shape that they can, and then also, really highlight their project experience to talk about. We hold career fairs multiple times a year, and all of our students are attending them. The career fairs are not just for our senior students, thank you, but they're also for our freshmen, sophomores, juniors as well, because we want students to be able to find internships, co-op opportunities, as well as full-time positions. So yeah, I think basically the projects provide a really solid ground for our students to find good employment opportunities in. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Chris. And I'll just briefly touch on housing opportunities and a little bit about what it's like to be a student here on campus. So WPI is a very residential campus. You can see this lovely photo that we have here. Pretty active, lively campus. First year housing is guaranteed. The vast majority of our students do live on campus, and over 62% live on campus at any given time. After your first year, it's totally up to you. We have a lot of on-campus housing for upper class students, but Worcester is a college city. So there may be reasons that you want to move off campus with a couple of friends, get an apartment. Some of the off-campus housing is just as close as the on-campus housing. I will turn it over to our students to talk a little bit about clubs. I'm not sure if you guys did any of that while I was offline. Okay, great. I'll let you chat a little bit about that.
Of course. So we actually have over 250 clubs and organizations here on campus with pretty much anything that you can think of. What's also great about WPI is alongside, its flexibility within the academic realm, we also are very flexible with clubs and organizations, meaning that if you kind of think of something and it doesn't exist as a club organization, you have the ability to start that club on your own. All you need to do is collect 50 signatures from your fellow peers and boom, there you got it. Some kind of notable clubs, organizations that we have Greek life organizations, we have 2 cheese clubs, we have athletic clubs, we have honor societies, pretty much anything you can think of. I would like to note that we are an NCAA Division III school, meaning that we have both 10 male and 10 female school sports offered on that category. What you won't find in kind of the NCAA Division III category, you'll find definitely in clubs and intramurals. And some people say that intramurals do get the most competitive out of all those 3 because you have kind of a lot of peers collaborating and competing against each other in the sports, but also sometimes a few faculty members join as well.
All right, I'll speak quickly about the city of Worcester. I know you guys are probably tuning in from all over the place, but Worcester is located in Massachusetts. I am pronouncing it correctly. We're about an hour outside of the city of Boston. And it's a smaller city. You can see from that picture that our campus is in the foreground. The city of Worcester is in the background. We have a lot of green space around campus with a big public park just on actually either side of our campus. And there's a lot to do in Worcester. There's a ton of great restaurants. I would say that's what we're best known for. So lots of good eating opportunities. And there's a dozen colleges in the greater Worcester area. So there are definitely a lot of college students, and it's got a young vibe to it. Main Street is about a 10-minute walk from our campus. The train station is about a 20-minute walk from our campus. And with the trains and the buses, they run between Worcester and Boston 20 times a day. There's bus service to Providence, to Hartford, Connecticut, to New York City. And from there, you can really get anywhere. So we'd love to be able to show you what's great about Worcester, hopefully when travel restrictions ease up a little bit. We can go on to the next slide. There's a lot of information here. I'm keeping an eye on the time, and we don't have another hour to get through all of our deadlines, but you guys can kind of rest assured that all of this is on our website. And so whenever makes sense for you to apply, we encourage you to apply. Our required items are listed there as well. And then we have optional personal interviews. WPI just the other week made the decision to go test blind, which means we will not consider test scores in the admissions process because SAT and ACT don't really test all that collaborative, creative thinking that are really important to WPI. I also want to show you the things that we think are important in our applicant pool. So we'll just head on to the next slide and share with you guys that we are looking for students who are creative and curious, who are collaborative, who really want to use science and engineering to improve the world around them. We are a school that, really values students' hard work during high school. So the more challenging math and science classes that you can take, the better it will look on your application. And the average GPA is listed on that slide as well. So typically our most successful applicants have more A's than B's on their high school transcript. I apologize that our test scores are still on this slide. We must not have taken them off yet, but again, we're not going to consider testing when it comes to WPI. So we are almost out of time. I do want to just quickly go through the scholarship information on the final slide. And I want you to know that while we are a private science and technology focused institution, there is a lot of funding available at WPI with over 97% of our students receiving funding. I want to quickly try and answer the last couple of questions that we see up on the screen there. And so I'll take the first question about what mental health resources are available. Yeah, WPI has a strong student development and counseling center with all kinds of different counselors available for students to talk to. They've been doing a lot virtually this year, and I know this year has been hard on students mental health wise. So help is always available at WPI. We just want our students to be asking for it. And then I do see one other question there about the GPA. Is the 3.92 on a 4.0 scale, is that unweighted? It is however your school reports it to us. So typically we take the GPAs as the school reports them. And sometimes that means they're weighted and sometimes that means they're unweighted. I'll say as an admissions counselor, I'm more concerned that you guys are taking challenging classes and doing well in those classes rather than about what that specific GPA is. All right. If there are any final questions, we still have a minute. Otherwise, we can go ahead and wrap up. I think, Chris, if you're able to just kind of skip through to the last slide, we can leave I think there's some contact information up there after this one. Although I guess I can quickly say we have summer programs. They're all going to be virtual this summer. So if you guys are interested, feel free to check out our website. And here's the contact information. You can ask questions via our website or follow our tour guides on social media and get to know a little bit more about WPI that way. Oh, I see one question about job opportunities. Angelos or Chris, do you want to talk about some of the job experiences you've had on and off?
Yeah, sure. Really quickly, I've actually had an internship and a co-op experience. They've both been in the nearby Boston area. It is very common that students will indeed go nearby to complete some of those internships, especially if they would like to stay on their off-campus housing that they are currently renting if they live off campus. But at the same time, you can travel anywhere you want. And the Career Development Center really gives students many opportunities through many career fairs to kind of seek out some of these internship or co-op opportunities.
Great. All right. right, well, thank you guys so much. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but you were in good hands with Chris and Angelos, and hopefully we got all your questions answered, but we look forward to connecting with you throughout the college search process. So thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. That concludes our presentation for today. Again, want to thank our team from WPI. Note, we've got a quick survey up on the StriveScan website. If you have questions, I'm sorry, not questions. If you have time to respond, please go ahead and do that. Also note, we have some sessions available from our other institutions. And finally, a recording of this session will be available at strivescan.com/cache if you ever want to look back to it. Again, thanks everyone, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.